up. I screamed and I cried as I tried to push the big and gigantic chimpanzee from my body as he pushes his huge sex organ into my vajayjay in and out with full speed. And while I was crying and tried to push the animal away from me, Mr. Turi and his two friends sat there comfortably laughing hysterically while two of his security men filmed the entire process. Then when the animal was about to reach orgasm, he increased his speed even faster and harder into me, and I screamed even harder. Mr. Turi then got up and walked towards me, and I thought he was going to lift the chimpanzee from me. But no, he asked me to open my mouth. Then he poured some water into it. Then he asked me to look at him. Then slowly I lifted my head and looked at him amidst the pain that I was going through. Then he gave me a heavy slap across my face. Then with a commanding and an authoritative voice, he shouted, "Shut your mouth! Don't you know that you are distracting the concentration of my dear hero as he's trying to reach orgasm?" Apparently, the chimpanzee is called Hero. Then he continued, "And are you aware that if this chimpanzee is not able to reach orgasm properly, he will end up having severe headache? So shut your mouth." I was immediately gripped with so much fear that I quickly shut my mouth and I stomached all the pain that I was going through. And in no time, the chimpanzee released into me. Then he got up and left the room. I just lay on the bed angry, and my heart was full of so much pain and rage. I no longer had tears in my eyes to run down my cheeks because I had cried so much that there was no tears longer left in my eyes anymore to freely flow down my face. Well, I will tell you how I got myself into this horrible situation. But please kindly subscribe to the channel, my darlings. Thank you very much for your love and support. Now, let me tell you how I found myself into this horrifying situation. My dad was recommended to a very rich man to be his personal driver. My dad has been driving an old bus that he inherited from his late dad for so many years. So he was a very good and inexperienced driver. Money made from that bus was a major source of income in our household for so many years, though my mom supported with the little that she got from selling her vegetables from the local market. Unfortunately, the engine of my dad's bus finally broke down and stopped working, and my dad was forced to park it because he didn't have money to buy a new bus. Life was really difficult for my family at this point, so when my dad finally got the job as a personal driver to this rich man, we were all very happy. My dad worked for this rich man as his personal driver for 2 years, and that has really helped our family to have a normal life again. Unfortunately, this rich man sadly had a heart attack and he died. And that was how my dad was without a job again for almost a year, and we went back to our difficult days again as a family. My mom tried to salvage the situation with the little she got from selling her vegetables at the local market, but of course, it wasn't enough for the entire family. Then fortunately, my dad got another driving job to drive a pastor of a very big church. He drove this pastor for about 1.5 years and everything was going well until my dad came back home one day from work and he started complaining of stomach ache. He was later taken to the hospital by my mom one afternoon when she realized that the sickness became so serious. And when they got to the hospital, that was it. My dad died. It was the most difficult time of our lives. Our main source of income was gone. Our rent was due and we couldn't renew it, so my mom and my elder brother went to stay in someone's uncompleted building for 1 whole year. Unfortunately for us, the owner of the building also came to drive us away because, according to him, he wanted to continue his building. And like they say, when troubles come, it comes in multitudes. That was the same time that it rained every single day. And so we went to lodge in an old abandoned school building. And that became our home for many, many weeks. Unfortunately, one day, while my elder brother was weeding around the place because it was really bushy, he got bitten by a snake, and that was how we lost my brother. My mother was completely devastated, and she became sad for many, many days. Then we moved from that old school building to another uncompleted building, and that was where my mother decided to start cooking some of our local foods to sell. Fortunately, sales picked really well, and quite a number of people were coming to eat from my mother's local joints. Then one day, a well-dressed man in a very big and an expensive car came to buy food from my mother's local joint, and I went to serve him. But before he could even touch the food, he got a call, so he asked me to package the food for him, which I did. Then 2 days later, this rich man came again and asked my mom to be his personal cook since my mom's food was really nice. He promised to give my mom a nice place to live and pay her 3 times the amount that she was making from her food business. Well, that was how my mom and I ended up in Mr. Turi's house. Mr. Turi's house was very huge and very beautiful. The walls were so tall, and there were a lot of beautiful ornamental plants and flowers everywhere. He also had a well-built man as his security guards. But Mr. Turi has no wife or children living in his house. He told my mom that he was once married and had 3 children, but he later got divorced, and so his wife had full custody of their children, and they live in Europe. So he was living in our country because he had a lot of businesses to run in our country, and that was why he was living all alone in that house. My mom started her job as a cook and a housekeeper in Mr. Turi's house, and everything was going really well, and we're happy again. Then I got admission to go to senior high school, so I left for school. When I came back during the holidays, my mom was not in the house. I asked Mr. Turi about the whereabouts of my mom, and he said my mom told him that she was traveling to her hometown for a relative's funeral, but she never returned. What? How is that even possible? My mom was the only child of her parents, and since they died, she had never visited her hometown again because her aunties and uncles refused to help us during our difficult moments. So she cut them off completely. So whose funeral could she have attended? So I asked Mr. Turi to help me go to my mom's hometown to ask about her. Unfortunately, when we got there, we were told that my mom had not come to the village in a very long time. So where could my mom be, and what could have happened to her? Then with the help of Mr. Turi, I reported my mom missing to the police, but a whole 6 months went by and there were no signs of my mom or what could have happened to her. So that was how I became an orphan again. No mother, no father, and no siblings. I was all alone. But Mr. Turi was really good to me. He gave me everything that I ever needed. But later, a young lady was brought to Mr. Turi's house to be his new cook, and she was also taking care of Mr. Turi's entire house. I affectionately called her Auntie Rose. Auntie Rose was so nice to me, and we got along really well. So when school reopened, I went back to school. But 2 weeks after reporting at school, I realized that I left my PE uniform and my sneakers at home. So I got permission from my school authorities to go back home and pick my PE uniform and my sneakers. And when I got home, my entire life changed forever. When I got home that hot afternoon, The whole place was very quiet as usual. So I went to my room to pick my uniform and my sneakers. But before going back to school, I decided to go and say hello to Mr. Tiri before leaving finally for school, since the security man told me that Mr. Tiri was in his room. When I got to Mr. Tiri's door, I knocked a few times, but there was no response, so I presumed that he was asleep. So I wrote a note and made an attempt to push it under the door. But in my attempt to push the note under the door, I realized that the door was not locked. So I gently pushed it open, hoping to quickly say hello to Mr. Turi and then go back to school. But when the door opened, Mr. Turi was not in the room, and I also saw something really strange. I saw another door at the other side of Mr. Turi's room. What? There was a door here all this while? I asked myself. I have been to Mr. Turi's room a number of times to clean it, but I have never seen that door before. There used to be a very big and a huge wardrobe there instead. So when was that door created? And for what purpose? I asked myself. So, out of curiosity, I gently pushed the door aside and I realized that there was a staircase behind the door leading downwards. What? What could be down there? I asked myself again. I have been living in that house for almost 1 year and I didn't know that there's something like that there. So slowly and quietly, I tiptoed down the staircase, and when I got to the basement of the stairs, I saw a whole house down there. There was a big hall which was beautifully decorated with modern furniture. Curtains and a very large TV was hanging on the wall. Then I realized that there were so many rooms that touched to the hall, so I went further to look around. But when I got closer to one of the rooms, I heard a very loud screams coming from one of the rooms. And though I was scared and was wondering who could be screaming on top of their voice like that, I still went ahead to see what was going on. So I tiptoed and slowly opened the door of where the noise was coming from. And when I opened the door, I got the utmost shock of my life. I saw a very big and a huge chimpanzee sleeping with my own mother, while Mr. Turi and about 5 other men looked on happily laughing. While all of this was going on, 2 well-dressed security guards filmed the entire process. I immediately screamed, "No! Leave my mother alone! Take that animal off her!" Mr. Tiri then turned and saw me standing by the door and immediately got up. He held my hand and pushed me out of the room. And then with so much anger, he asked me, "How did you get here? I thought you were supposed to be in school. How did you get in here? How? Who led you in here?" He immediately pushed me into another room with a very large bed placed in one corner of the room. Then he pushed me onto the bed while he stood by the door. And with a very angry tone, he said, "Well, I didn't want to involve you into this, but since you found out what goes on here, there's no turning back for you." Then he made a call. Within 2 minutes, 5 men who were probably in their late 50s entered the room and sat on the large sofas that were placed in the room. Later on, the 2 security men who were filming my mom earlier also entered the room. And then a few minutes later, a very huge and a very chimpanzee entered the room. Then Mr. Tiri made a sign to the security men and they forcibly had my clothes and my underwear removed. And immediately, this huge chimpanzee climbed onto me and pushed his huge sex organ into me. I started to scream, "Take the animal off me! Take this animal off me now!" But nobody heeded to my plea. Then I continued, "Please, it's paining me. Please, it hurts terribly. Please take the animal away. I can't take it anymore. Please, it's hurting me. Tell him to get up. I screamed so loud and I cried so much as I tried to push the big and gigantic chimpanzee away from my body as he pushed his huge sex organ into my vajayjay with full speed. And while I was crying and tried to push the chimpanzee away from me, Mr. Tiri and his men sat there comfortably laughing hysterically, while two of the security men filmed the entire process. Then when the chimpanzee was about to reach orgasm, he increased his speed even faster and harder into me, and I screamed even harder. Mr. Tiri then got up and walked towards me, and I thought he was going to lift the chimpanzee from my body. But no, he asked me to open my mouth. Then he poured some water into my mouth. Then he asked me to look at him. Then slowly I lifted my head and looked at him amidst the pain that I was going through. Then he gave me a very heavy slap across my face. Then with a very commanding and an authoritative voice, he shouted, "Shut your mouth! Don't you know that you are distracting the concentration of my dear hero as he's trying to reach orgasm?" Apparently, this chimpanzee is called Hero. Then he continued, "Are you aware that if this chimpanzee is not able to reach orgasm properly, he will end up having severe headache? So shut up!" I was immediately gripped with so much fear that I quickly shut my mouth and I stomached all the pain that I was going through. And in no time, the chimpanzee released into me. Then he got up and left the room. And that was how I lost my virginity to an animal, not to even a human being, but to a chimpanzee. After everything, I just lay on the bed very angry and my heart was full of rage and pain. I no longer had tears in my eyes to run down my face because I had cried so much that there were no longer tears in my eyes to freely flow down my face. Then in the evening, Auntie Rose came to my room with food. I shouted, "Auntie Rose, so you also know about what is going on in this house and you never said anything about it? How could you?" Then she said, "Lower your voice. Don't shout." Then she said, "Yes, I am aware of everything that goes on in this house, but I can't say anything about it to anybody because I am equally a victim just like you, and I'm equally afraid just like you are. All those who went against Mr. Turi's command suddenly disappeared. What happened to them, I do not really know, so I equally fear for my life. Mr. Turi is more dangerous than you think, my dear. This is the real business that he does, and that he is ready to protect it with his very life." Then she continued, "Mr. Turi's real wealth and money come from this business. As for his other businesses, they are just cover-up and to create the impression that that was how he make his money. They are all cover-up. He made his money by selling these illicit sex videos to so many companies all over the world. It is a very big market and there's a huge demand for it. There are a lot of ladies in all those rooms that you see over there. And yes, they all sleep with different animals. Dogs, lions, goats, horses, chimpanzees, and the list goes on. Very rich men also book appointments to come and see these animals have sex with these young ladies every now and then, and they pay very huge amount for their weird fantasy. My dear, if you want to stay alive, then please don't fight Mr. Tiri and his men, because if you do, they will kill you without thinking twice." Then I asked Auntie Rose, "How can I escape from this house?" Then with a very sad face, she said, "I'm sorry, my dear. I don't know how you can escape from this house. And please don't forget that you are living at the tunnel or the basement of the main house now. So even if you scream, the neighbors cannot hear you. The whole place is soundproof. Mr. Tiri knows exactly what he's doing. So I will urge you to think about how to leave and not escaping." Then the following day, a very huge lion was brought into my room and also had sex with me. I was horribly terrified by the mere sight of the lion, but Mr. Tiri assured me that the lion would not harm me because it was just a pet. And as long as I obeyed his instructions, none of those animals will harm me. Then within a span of 3 months, I slept with over 7 different animals, from dogs to goats to lions to chimpanzees to a horse, just name them. Sometimes I was put in the same room with my own mother for these animals to sleep with us, while Mr. Tiri and his friends had fun with how these animals exploited our bodies each time. Many times, I could equally hear other young ladies scream from the other rooms as they slept with these animals. By the time that I spent almost 8 months in that underground house, I became so sick and nearly died. Later on, 2 professional doctors were brought in to take care of me, and that was when I realized that Mr. Turi was working with so many high-profile people out there. And of course, he had money and power, so the question is, how then could I leave that house alive? I asked myself. Then one day, one of the security men came to my room with food and water and asked me how I was doing and asked me if there was something he could do for me. Well, it was then I realized that this security man had a soft spot for me, so I decided to use that to my advantage. So I asked him why he was still working for Mr. Suri, even though he knew what he was doing was wrong. Then he said, he used to be Mr. Turi's personal driver, but he later got into a very bad business and he ran into huge debt. And Mr. Turi helped him pay everything. And that was how he became Mr. Turi's slave. And in order to show his gratitude, he started helping Mr. Turi with this business. Then he said he couldn't run away because a few of his friends who tried to run away were killed, and that has put so much fear in him to run away as well. So I asked him if he'd like to be free from Mr. Tiri one day, but he gave me no answer. So I took his silence as yes. But of course, he couldn't voice it out. Then it occurred to me that if Mr. Tiri was so powerful and he has so much money, it means that he might equally have a very strong connection with the local police. So even if I'm able to escape and report him to the local police, the probability that he'll be apprehended or arrested was very slim. So my question was now, how would I be able to run away from Mr. Turi and help my mom and the rest of these ladies who are under this tunnel? Then I remembered what our English teacher once told us in class. He said, if you happen to find yourself in a very horrible situation where you feel the local police cannot help you because they could compromise with the situation or favor the perpetrators of a crime, consider contacting international bodies like FBI, BNI, or the U.S. Embassy and tell them that you are an American citizen and you have been held hostage. They will quickly look for you and rescue you as fast as possible because the American government doesn't play with their citizens, especially if they are in trouble. Then he went on to say that such bodies will come to your aid so that later they can take the glory for themselves as better security providers over your mother country. So then I decided to contact the American embassy and pretend to be an American citizen. But the question is, how do I get a mobile phone to make this call? Then from time to time, Eric would bring me some food and water daily and check on me and make sure that I was okay. Then one day, when Eric came to visit me as usual, I told him that I was bored, so I wanted to play a game on his phone. But he refused to give the phone to me. He explained that if I called anybody with his phone with an attempt to report him or report Mr. Turi or even try to escape, Mr. Turi wouldn't hesitate killing him or whoever got in his way. So it got me thinking, how or where can I get a mobile phone in order to execute my plans? One day, Eric came around again like he usually does, and he was assigned to film 2 young ladies that were brought in while about 4 of Mr. Tiri's clients were enjoying the show. While these animals were sleeping with these ladies, and I could hear them scream so loud because obviously they were new to what was happening to them. Then I realized that Eric forgot his personal phone on a table in my room. So I said to myself, this is just the opportunity that I was looking for. So I quickly opened Eric's bags with an attempt to use his phone. But unfortunately, he had a password on it. So I said, oh no, how would I get an access to this phone? A few minutes later, Eric came to the room and took his phone away. So I've been asking myself, how else would I be able to escape from that horrible place and help all those ladies out there? Then one day, Eric came to visit me again like he usually does, and by now, we had become friends. So I asked him a few questions about his personal life, and one of the things that I asked him was the meaning of the tattoo initials on his arms. And his answer was that he has a daughter, and those were the initials of his daughter. Then something told me that those initials could be his password on his phone, and therefore I have positioned myself to use his phone by the slightest chance that I get. Then, as if God was actually hearing my humble prayers, Eric came to work one day and he came to leave his bag in my room and left to film other young ladies who were entertaining Mr. Tiri and his clients. Then as soon as he left, I quickly opened his bag and brought out his phone and quickly keyed in the password of his tattoo, and then boom, the phone was unlocked. Then I quickly went online and looked for the number of the US Embassy and quickly dialed the number. A lady picked the phone, and as quickly as I could, I told her all that was happening to me and the other ladies in Mr. Tiri's basement house. I then told the lady on the other side of the phone not to call back, but rather they should try as much as possible to send us help. I then went ahead to delete the number from the phone and put the phone back into Eric's bag. 2 hours later, I heard a loud noise and footsteps of people coming into the basement with full force. Mr. Tiri and his men opened gunfire when they saw the rescue team, and they started shooting. I was so terrified, and I was praying that none of the ladies should die in the process. At the end of the operation, 2 of Mr. Tiri's men died. Unfortunately, Mr. Tiri used 2 of the ladies as a shield, and they also lost their lives. Mr. Tiri, his clients, and his security guards were all arrested by the rescue team, and they were later arraigned before court for various crimes. And Mr. Tiri was sentenced to 70 years in prison. My mother and I later relocated to the US, where we live currently. Unfortunately, the whole situation has traumatized and affected my mom's mental health badly. So unfortunately, she can't even remember me as a daughter. But I am happy that we have finally left that horrible situation behind us for good, and the perpetrators have equally been punished by the law. Unfortunately, there are so many bad people like Mr. Tiri out there who are still taking advantage of young women to enrich themselves. And unfortunately, they are protected by the system because they have money and power. And I hope that these wicked people are brought to book one after the other. And now our word for this story. Our word for this story is execrable. Execrable means extremely bad, or very bad, or abominable. Guys, this is indeed a chilling story. What are your thoughts on this story? Please kindly share them in the comment section, and please kindly subscribe to the channel, and please do well to watch my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and please do well to watch my other videos. I'll see you in the next video. Bye y'all.